Welcome to episode 295 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Law Sky. It is August 22nd, 1964. It's 10 o'clock at night, and BBC Two. Kenneth Wolstenholme appears on television and says welcome to Match of the Day. Behind him is Anfield, Liverpool against Arsenal, and as Wolstenholme puts it, we're in Beetleville. Earlier that afternoon, 47,620 people had watched Liverpool win 3-2. Tonight, only about 20,000 people are watching on television. In fact, people in Liverpool cannot watch it at all. BBC Two does not yet reach them. And one other thing is missing. That tune. You know the one. Da 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 da. Not yet. Barry Stoller, and apologies Barry, will not write their famous Match of the Day theme until 1970. But on this day in 1964, the program begins, and football's journey from the stadium to the living room takes one of its most important steps. But how did we get here? When association football emerged in the 1860s, you consumed it in two basic ways: go to the match or read about it afterward. Newspapers rapidly became part of football's expansion. Match reports spread the reputations of clubs and players beyond the people who had actually stood beside the pitch. By the late Victorian period, football and the press were growing together into mass entertainment. Then sound arrived. January 22nd, 1927, Highbury, Arsenal against Sheffield United. The BBC broadcasts live running commentary of a league match for the first time. Listeners even receive a numbered diagram of the pitch in the Radio Times, so commentator Teddy Wakelam can tell them which square contains the ball. Football can now happen in London and simultaneously exist inside somebody's home miles away. Immediately comes the anxiety that will haunt football broadcasting for decades. If people can hear the match at home, why would they buy a ticket? Then television makes the question even more frightening. 1937, Highbury again. The BBC televises part of a specially arranged Arsenal first team versus reserves match. In 1938, England versus Scotland is shown live. Then the FA Cup final. Football is on television before the Second World War. But war shuts British television down, and afterward the relationship develops cautiously. Big occasions are one thing. League football every Saturday is another. In 1955, the BBC begins showing tiny filmed league highlights inside Sports Special. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Then ITV tries something more radical. 1960, Blackpool against Bolton, a live football league match. ITV has agreed a deal to show 26 of them. It effectively lasts one match. Clubs object. Arsenal and Tottenham refuse cameras. The experiment collapses. Football remains convinced that television might empty the terraces. But technology keeps moving. By 1962, regional ITV companies are producing regular local highlights. Videotape means football no longer needs to wait for film to be processed. And then, in April 1964, Britain gets a new television channel, BBC Two. It is led initially by Michael Peacock. It broadcasts using the new 625 line system, better picture, electronic cameras, videotape editing, and importantly, space in the schedule. BBC Sport has a new head too, Bryan Cowgill. Cowgill believes football television will help the game rather than damage it. The man he has to convince is Football League Secretary Alan Hardaker. Hardaker is famously protective of the league, but Cowgill keeps negotiating. And there's another deadline approaching. England will host the World Cup in 1966. The BBC needs crews who know how to televise football properly. Match of the Day can double as their training ground. So BBC Two probably makes the experiment feel less threatening. It is only 4 months old. Its signal is still largely confined to London, and you need a new 625 line television set to receive it. But even then, the Football League remains nervous. The match being filmed must remain secret until 4 p.m. After supporters are already inside grounds. No chance of somebody staying home because they know Liverpool Arsenal will be on television. The first program is originally scheduled for 6:30, but then, at the last moment, the Football League Management Committee objects. Broadcast moved, 10 o'clock. Now imagine the production. No digital editing, no laptop, no instant upload. Producer Alan Chivers and editor Alec Weeks have videotape reels and a tiny number of editing machines available across BBC Television Centre. Weeks later remembered that there were only 6 machines in the entire building. The turnaround was frantic. He called the process butchery. One early edit became so abrupt, the Liverpool captain Ron Yeats took a throw-in and then appeared to head his own throw. They would get better. Unfortunately, the football gives them a magnificent first episode. Reigning champions Liverpool versus Arsenal. Roger Hunt scores the first goal ever seen on Match of the Day. Gordon Wallace makes it 2-0. Arsenal come back. Jeff Strong and Joe Baker, 2-2. Then, 3 minutes from time, Wallace scores again. Liverpool 3, Arsenal 2. Wolstenholme concludes that perhaps it should be called the match of the century rather than the match of the day. 47,620 people see it at Anfield. Roughly 20,000 see it on BBC Two. So the first television audience is less than half the stadium attendance. Football's terrifying new rival has arrived, but almost nobody is watching. But so what? Well, the suspicion does not disappear. In 1965, several clubs tried to stop Match of the Day returning. A compromise follows. The program cannot go out before 10 p.m. and the featured game remains secret until the afternoon's football has finished. Then comes 1966, the World Cup. The BBC crews have had 2 seasons of practice. England win. Football television explodes. Match of the Day moves from BBC Two to BBC One, and now virtually the whole country can see it. The program evolves quickly. More than one match, a studio, color, action replays, John Motson, Barry Davies, Jimmy Hill, Des Lynam, and eventually Gary Lineker. And in 1970 comes Barry Stroller's theme, the tune that somehow sounds like Saturday night even if you hear it on a Tuesday morning. Britain is not alone. West Germany has Sportschau, built around the new Bundesliga. Italy launches Novantesimo Minuto in 1970. France later gets Telefoot. The basic idea travels. Play the matches, then bring the national football conversation together around television. And English football itself starts traveling, including to Denmark. From November 1969, Danmarks Radio joins Norwegian and Swedish television to buy English league matches. The Scandinavians arrange their own live rights, and suddenly English football is in Scandinavian living rooms every Saturday. Initially, the rights are heavily Midlands-based: Wolves, West Bromwich, Villa, Coventry, Stoke, Derby. So Liverpool, Manchester United or Arsenal appear when they visit one of those clubs. A generation of Scandinavians, myself included, develops relationships with English clubs despite living hundreds of miles from England. Television has created football loyalties that geography never could. And now the value of the pictures begin to explode. By the 1980s, BBC and ITV are fighting over football. A rights dispute produces a television blackout in 1985. In 1988, ITV takes exclusive Football League coverage. And for the first time since 1964, Match of the Day cannot show league football. Then comes 1992, the Premier League. ITV expects to win. Instead, Sky and the BBC combine. Sky gets live football. BBC gets the highlights. 5 years, £304 million. Match of the Day returns to league football. And television is no longer merely covering the product. Television is helping finance and reshape the product. Today the scale would have been unimaginable to Hardaker. The current UK agreements with Sky, TNT and the BBC are worth £6.7 billion over 4 years. Sky alone can show at least 215 Premier League matches each season. BBC still owns the free-to-air highlights. In the United States, NBC Universal carries all 380 matches across NBC, USA, Peacock, and its Spanish-language platforms through 2028. That's exactly how I now watch English football in North America. And remember the fear behind almost every argument since radio arrived, that nobody will come. Well, the 2025-26 Premier League recorded 15.9 million attendances, the highest total in its history. Stadium capacity has risen enormously, grounds are full, and simultaneously the Premier League is now broadcast in 189 countries and estimates 1.9 billion followers worldwide. Television did not replace the stadium. It made the stadium globally visible. Before we go, 3 things to take away from August 22nd, 1964. First, Match of the Day was not the beginning of football broadcasting. Newspapers, radio, primitive television experiments, live cup finals, and tiny highlight packages had spent decades preparing the ground. Second, football fought television almost every step of the way. Keep the match secret, delay the program, protect the gate, block the cameras. The fear was always the same. If people can watch at home, why would they come? Third, the opposite story became possible. People watched English football on television and wanted more English football in Denmark, in North America, across the world. Television did not simply show the beautiful game, it helped make the game global. On this day in 1964, Liverpool beat Arsenal 3-2. Roger Hunt scored. George Gordon Wallace scored twice. 20,000 people watched a new program on television, on a television channel most of Britain could not even receive. And 62 years later, we're still humming the tune. That is all for episode 295 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Law Sky. Tomorrow, August 23rd, 1930, Brussels opens a magnificent new national stadium to celebrate Belgium's centenary, the Jubilee Stadium. Later, the world will know the place by another name, Heysel. Stay tuned.